Amad Diallo, rookie. Amad Diallo. You said you were singing his name while the kids were on their way to bed, probably keeping them up. How impressed were you with his performance and just him in general? Unbelievable.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was like a little terrier, really hunting down mistakes in the City defence, trying to win the ball back high up the pitch. And actually, the second goal sort of epitomised it for me. I did Lisandro Martinez an injustice when I was there on the Sunday session because I said it was a hopeful punt upfield. It wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It wasn't. So hopeful. Pinpoint.
It was amazing. It was a brilliant ball, and he'd actually done it a few minutes earlier as well.
Yeah.
But a lot of players would have given that up because Ederson was the favourite to win that ball. But Amad was determined to get there. OK, he's benefited from the fact that Ederson probably shouldn't have come as far up his line as he did, and then he hesitated when he got there. But the fact that he kept going made that goal, really. And to still have the speed of thought once he'd flicked it over the goalkeeper to finish into the bottom corner as he did was a majestic moment. And actually, if you look at Amad Diallo's United career, he's a cult hero because of what he did against Liverpool in the FA Cup. But that goal at the weekend probably earns him legendary status. And I'm delighted for him because I've said before, we're talking about players who maybe don't have the best attitude to the game. Amad Diallo is the polar opposite of that. He works hard in training every day. He's humble. He gets the football club. He knows what it means to play for the badge. And he's had to be patient, by the way.
Absolutely.
There have been times when he's not been happy with Manchester United managers, but he's reacted in the right way. And in some ways, he's the illustration, isn't he? He's the example that Rashford and Garnacho should be looking to.
Get your head down. I mean, for you, Ryan, as far as Derby Day goals go, we've had some great ones, especially in the last minute. You look at Van Persie for the free kick at the Etihad. Of course, that was when we're trying to win the title, so it's got different connotations. I remember Paul Scholes' header.
Yeah.
Owen as well. Yeah, exactly. At Old Trafford. There's been a lot. Wayne Rooney overhead kick, but in terms of Derby goals to decide them, especially at the Etihad, that's right up there for Amad.
It was absolutely gorgeous. That goal was a poetry in motion, I have to say. It was beautifully done. To be at full stretch for that touch, as both feet were off the ground at one point, it was unbelievable. And you know what? In terms of the actual squad itself, player by player, it's not happening all together, and this is what it's going to take time. But certain players you can see now are just starting to click and adapt to this system. In terms of the players that I saw, Amad's one of them. I think he's been the first one to click into it, whether it's right wing back or whether it's in this 10.
What do you think his best position is now? Because we were crying out when he was at right wing back. We need him closer to the goal. We need him in there. But then we went, there's nothing really coming from the right wing back. We need maybe his best position is there and we get some. What is it? Or it just doesn't matter.
He can play anywhere.
Whatever he wants to play that day, I reckon.
Get him in goal.
Yeah. But you know what? Get him in goal. Do you know what? I think the 10, I'm not going to lie, I think the Bruno Amad 10 situation there was fantastic because it is, it's a fluid system where those 10s can drift out wide, which suits him down to the ground, but you can obviously come inside as well. And the reason why I'll say not right wing back is because I think we found our right wing back. Because Mazraoui is one of those players I think that is going to click into this system very, very well. Because you can see I really was interested in how these wing backs are going to work, but I'm already starting to see it. And you can argue we're over reliant on them at the moment. That won't always be the case. It will be in central areas more and more. But one wing back will press while the other sits back to bolster the defence a little bit more, or they can both commit and distract. While the centre do their thing, the two 10s do their thing. It's phenomenal. And Mazraoui was one of those players that did that and did it really well. The switch is always on as well. Yeah. So if we get that left wing back position sorted, I think that would be phenomenal. Lisandro Martinez, you mentioned you thought it was hopeful at the time, but you've come around to the line of thinking it was deliberate, and it was because that Haaland penalty shout was another ball that was virtually identical. Yeah. He's another player that those ball-playing centre-backs want to go over into the channels. And that is exactly what Amorim wanted. It's what I heard he wanted before he took the job. And I saw that in the Manchester derby. So look, it was just amazing to watch.
Angelina, for you, just before we finish off on Amad and move on to other players and talk more about the game, for Amad, how important is it now that the hierarchy get this new contract done? I have been reports today that they're very comfortable with where they're at and they're looking to get it by the end of the year. But you just look at it now, just hurry up, get this kid signed.
Yeah, there were reports about, articles about Harry Maguire and he's got, listen, Harry, just calm down a minute. We've got bigger fish to fry at the minute. Let's get Amad over the line and then we'll think about, players like Harry Maguire, no offence. But, of course, I'm pretty sure that considering, this term ruthless with Ineos, whether that's a good word or bad word, you would like to think that with everything going on, this is something that they're going to prioritise and this is something that they're going to sort out. But yeah, I thought he was brilliant. It was a game of kind of perseverance from him. You saw in the first half, the runs weren't quite on point. There was a couple of flags. And just as the game went, he just kept going and going and going. And that's what you want to see from your players. And yeah, I take my hat off to him. And I thought it was interesting that Amorim had said something about we don't want to make the same mistakes and talking about protecting a player.
Basically saying, you guys always do this. I've read about you fans.
Yeah, he's like,
you gas up all the players, hype them up, and then all of a sudden they don't reach the levels.
And he said, about Ten Hag and Ruud van Nistelrooy did a good job with him. And it kind of made me feel like, is it also a bit of a hint of, Ten Hag kind of brought him in and then dropped him and just didn't utilise him in the right way? Was he maybe trying to say, we're not going to make the same mistakes of this kid needs to keep playing? He's undroppable at the minute.
Yeah. Do you know what? You know what Amad Diallo has done? He's put himself on the map with that goal. For him personally, obviously, we love him and we know what he's capable of. But for him personally, he's put himself on the map. I've spoken to fans and said, would you take Amad? Rival fan bases. I'm not sure. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what? You wouldn't add him to your squad? Well, now...
Yeah, it's a bit different now, isn't it?
They'll be saying yes.
They're all waxing lyrical about him. I mean, let's talk about some other players, though, Crookie, because Harry Maguire slotting into this back three, for me, I'm not going overboard here, but I think you're getting England Maguire again. You get when he's just really comfortable. Let's just say it as it is. Yeah. And I think because he's not the captain anymore, because he's not playing every single game with the scrutiny and the spotlight all on him, he's coming in. I tell you what, against Arsenal, no problem. Against Manchester City, no problem. As that central centre-back with protection either side, protection just in front from Ugarte and Mainu or Ugarte and Casemiro, whoever it may be, he's looking all right.
He is, and they've got a decision to make there, haven't they? Because there is a year's option in the contract.
What do you think they should do?
I think they might trigger it now. And when we did a quite brutal assessment of the squad, didn't we? I think we all said that maybe it was time to cut our losses with Maguire. But because there's not, a bucket full of cash to spend, if you've got someone there who clearly fits the system, I think he wants to do well, Maguire, by the way. I wouldn't question his attitude or his mentality. Then maybe he is worth keeping around for the reasons that you say. But yeah, he was mightily impressive. I mean, he kept Haaland in his pocket, really, didn't he? So full credit to him. Ugarte, I thought, did well as well. He's getting better game by game. And I'm going to have to mention Anthony off the bench. Not just Sunday, but I commentated the game in Pilsen, which was a tough commentary for the first hour or so. But he made the changes, didn't he, second half, and obviously took off Rashford and Xerxes. But Anthony was one of the players who came on and made a really positive impact. And I think this is what you've got to admire about Amorim, because let's be honest, Anthony was done as a Manchester United player before he came in. And he still might be, by the way. But he's given him an opportunity. It's that clean slate that he promised, and Anthony is taking it. And I think, actually, again, the system suits him as well.
Yeah.
But this is what we need, though, and we don't want to fall into the trap of, if Anthony has a good rest of the season, it's like, oh, yeah, we'll keep... No, he still needs to go. But this is a situation... This is a situation, and I mentioned it, we saw Amorim do this at Sporting Lisbon, getting the best out of players so that we can at least sell them on and do good business. I think a lot of these players, I agree about Harry Maguire. I think squad depth is also important, and I think he's a player, whether you're starting him or having him in your squad. I also think he's a good character to have, because I don't think he's a bad person. I mean, we all saw the Oscar performance from Kyle Walker. Maguire was in there.
Yeah, he was fighting the cause.
He had Haaland's back in that situation. I don't think you can question his character, but I think a couple of other players, I want them to get the game time. I want him to get the best out of them, but more looking at how can we get some of these players out and get good money for them, even if we're just getting them to look decent enough that we're selling them for something. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think with players like that, it's important. Maybe Anthony will convince me, I don't know, but for me, it's good. Yeah. It's good to see, but he's still not doing what he said at the beginning of the season. You're going to see a completely different me, and I'm going to flip the world on its head.
Well, we've got to give him some more chances. We'll see. I'll come back to you, Ryan, on the Harry Maguire situation. I saw you wincing. I saw you shaking your head.
Just writhing a little bit.
He's not having it. But just on Ruben Amorim quickly. I mean, that is our first away win against top six opposition. Thoroughbred top six opposition. I know we've beaten Villa and stuff like that. But top six historically since 2021 under Ollie. Does that prove already that Ruben Amorim's, he's got a bit of the muscles, got a bit of chops, an appetite for this role.
Absolutely. And lest we forget, he's beat them twice with 2 teams this season because he did it with Sporting Lisbon as well. Yeah. And he actually reverted back to a formation he used during the Manchester derby as well when Sporting beat them. So look, he's all about it. And as I say, player by player is starting to click out. I forgot to mention Ugarte, which Crook mentioned. He was tenacious and he's starting to develop into a player that we can... And you know what? Going back to a few shows ago, I think it was Danny Murphy who said we wouldn't see Ugarte and Kobbie Mainoo together. And we saw it. And for parts of the game, it really worked.
Kobbie grew into the game quite well because it was a really tough one for Mason Mount. Yeah, well. Really, really tough. You could see it on him. The players really, really felt it for him. And the future's looking very bleak for him and injuries.
Luke Shaw territory.
Exactly. It's not looking great. Mason Mount's only 25, but his body just keeps breaking down, bless him.
Yeah.
But Kobbie, when he came on, a couple of loose passes, a little bit rusty.
Yeah.
Then as the game went on, Ryan, he just
switching the play, pinging the ball around, press resistant. I actually felt they complemented each other really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing that partnership. Going back to what you said about Harry Maguire, and I do need to be careful. I mean, the reason why I'm here is a Harry Maguire video. So I do need to be careful not to become a Harry Maguire basher. But I will say, players overstaying their welcome at Manchester United has been a big issue over the last 10 years. And look, if it's in terms of we don't have anyone else to get and there's not enough cash and he's happy to rotate, I get what everyone's saying about England, Maguire's back and in a back three, that's where he flourishes. I still don't feel like he's good enough to play for Manchester United. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm quite passionate about that because he's got a few mistakes in him off the ball. Which I think even came to fruition against Arsenal as well, defending the set pieces. So look, he does have some good attributes and he played fantastically in that derby. And I like him, don't get me wrong, but players overstaying their welcome for me, I think Harry Maguire falls into that category, I'm sorry.
I think he might justify it because we have other priorities to fix. Yeah. And also he's got 1 year left on his deal, Evans has got to leave on a free, and Lindelof's got to leave on a free. If you add Maguire into that and we now play with 3 centre-halves and you need 6, how on earth are you going to go and get 3 centre-halves?
I agree with that logic. I do agree with that logic.
190k a week he's on, which is a lot for a bench player. But then if you say that's like, 10 million a year, basically?
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost you if you save with Evans and Lindelof? So their wages is about another, let's say 20 million package of wages of all of them. For 20 million quid, are you going to be able to go and get 3 other centre-halves to go and help us out?
No.
I don't think you can. So I feel like he might, just the economics might save him alone. And he can play the system and just come in here and there. But we shall see. We shall see in the summer. Just before we move on, in terms of derby days, where are you ranking that? I'm going to go ask all 3.
Well, I mean, I guess in terms of what it means in the context of the season, they've been far bigger. You talked about it. I commentated the Van Persie goal, actually. And obviously Rooney's overhead kick. The Owen goal for me was a standout one because that was the time when City was sort of trying to close the gap. They were chirping up a little bit and Owen put them back in their place. So I don't think it's that level. No. But in terms of, away Manchester derbies in recent years, it's up there.
Angelina?
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I think overall, I mean, I must confess, I watched 70 minutes of the game and then for talkSPORT work purposes had to then get myself to the Etihad Stadium. Great decision from Manchester Council and the powers that be to have Paul McCartney playing the same night, a stone's throw away from the Etihad. So I was actually listening to Alex Crook and Sam Matthews on the Sunday session.
Did he do a good job? Did he make you feel like...
Yes. Yes. As
I stay neutral.
No, but I'm not mad at that. You were allowed. I was racing through a sea of City fans leaving early.
Oh, yeah? Fire drill?
Yeah, allegedly. But one thing I will say, I was stood outside, working, obviously, and the noise of the United fans, it was absolutely amazing. We were stood by the away end.
Lovely.
And it was just, and the faces of those City fans, like, storming out on the phone to people, like, slagging us off. And I was just stood there, hoping no one would recognise me. Yeah. But yes,
Did you get recognised? Was you all right? Was you good?
No, I was good. I was good overall. Yeah.
Lovely. Ryan, for you to finish off?
Yeah, I don't think it was, the most amazing of derbies I've ever seen. It's not going to rank in my top 3, let's say. But it's not always about the game. It's not always about the 90 minutes. It's about moments. And that Ahmad moment is one of the better moments I've seen in a Manchester derby. I'm really happy for him. And you know what? We get bullied all the time, we do, by the fan bases. So it's just nice to have that. So for right now, I was really happy.
That's just it, Ryan. It's about the big moments, and Ahmad is racking up the big moments. That's Liverpool, that's Man City now. What do we need now? Tottenham next, Arsenal,
we'll
add
take
them in
Tottenham,
the
won't we?
FA Cup as well. Why not?